Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. In this update, we're going to be talking about an April cold front along with some heavier rainfall. Then by the middle of next week, especially across the middle part of the country, a big warm up is on the way. Then another trough will be heading in out west. That will set the stage for more rounds of severe storms starting on Thursday and likely heading into next weekend. So let's take a look at the setup this morning, and you're feeling it in a big way for April standards. This is a fairly decent, stronger cold front. Look at all that purple on the map. That is a good 10, 15, if not almost 20 degrees below average for those areas into the Dakotas, through Nebraska, all the way into Iowa this morning, back through Illinois, even further south into Missouri. But we do have that cold front that has dropped well south into the southeast and those areas into Texas, where they are getting some overrunning conditions this morning and a lot of lightning strikes with this activity. In fact, this morning, convection really exploded across southeastern Oklahoma, there within the Dallas-Fort Worth area into North Texas. And there's another boundary setting up shop across West Texas. So they have some areas this morning, but then there's another area of activity later on this afternoon. And then the cold front is sagging further south, elongated into the southeast, as well as into South Texas. That will set the stage for a renewed threat for additional lift, and with some daytime heating could produce more rounds of marginally induced thunderstorms. There's where we have that risk for today on your Saturday. Those places into the San Angelo region, down here to San Antonio, back through the Austin, Houston area, and then further into the southeast towards Jackson, back into Mobile. This is all elongated right along that cold front back into Montgomery, all the way up into Columbia. Those could actually be, could see some stronger, gustier winds, and some quarter-size hail is definitely not ruled out with the stronger instability, but it's going to be a wet mess across the south for a good today and even to tomorrow. So there's the cold front. Look at the temperature anomalies. Definitely you're feeling it. I mean, those areas of 10, 15 degrees below average, sinking all the way south into Kansas, back into Oklahoma. Look out west. You kind of miss out on this cold front. You still are in the warm sector out here, those 5 to 10 degrees above average. So you're actually experiencing some very nice weather conditions out west, but all the instability and the precipitation is well south. So you're clearing out in a big way back behind that cold front after all that severe weather threat you've dealt with over the last couple of days. So enjoy the calm. Now the instability is further south, and the cold front is dropping further south as well. And it's got a lot of lightning strikes with it, folks. Look at the lightning. A lot of this has been fairly intense. I mean, right along this boundary, there was a lot of lightning there in Texas this morning, back through Louisiana this afternoon, into Mississippi, back through Alabama here, through Georgia. Again, it's right along that boundary where that cold front lies. And then you get that kind of overrunning setup with these little short waves still coming in. That's going to cause the atmosphere to overrun itself and produce these elongated showers and thunderstorms. And some of them could be marginally induced with some larger hail on the size of quarter size, because we do have that cold air aloft, especially with that cold front. But look at the water precipitable index. It's pretty high, folks. I mean, that's why we're seeing some flash flooding. There's been some isolated pockets of that. And then some of these areas could easily pick up possibly 1 to 3 inches of rainfall into today and heading into tomorrow. So that's where all the instability, and at times you could come down in a fast and furious across the south here, especially into the southeast, likely as we head into Sunday. But we're going to dive deeper into the forecast. But first, a word from my sponsor. Don't we want to know where our roots are? That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's video sponsor, MyHeritage. So if you open up the kit, it's actually got these little cheek swabs. Yeah, so there's 2 of them. All right, so I'm simply going to swab 30 seconds on my left cheek, and I'm going to do the other swab. So then I'm going to open up one of these vials, and I'm simply going to place the bottom half of it inside the cylinder. So I've got my sample ready to mail off to the lab. I'll wait a couple of weeks, so I'm gonna be super excited, and I'll start revealing the results once they come in. So while I'm waiting on my results to come back in the mail, I'm on the MyHeritage site, and they've got this cool little animation photo tool. So here it is right here. You can actually take any photo. This is a picture of my parents way back in the day, and here it is animated. It's actually really cool feature to kind of play around with, and it's really cool to kind of share some of your photos with some of your friends and family. All right, drum roll please. What? 47% Irish. You know what's ironic about that is my wife and I actually got married on St. Patrick's Day. So I guess I really do have the luck of the Irish. So Eastern Europe, this is very interesting. Okay, so far I've got 47% Irish, 24% Eastern Europe, and 17% English. And Scandinavian. Huh. I had no idea. This is actually really cool. Oh, and West Asian. Wow, so I've got a lot of countries covered. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now to start your 30-day free trial and use the code PAL for free shipping. It was pretty surprising that I've actually got 47% Irish, 24% Eastern Europe, 17% English, 8% Scandinavian, and 1% West Asian. So yeah, it was an awesome experience. You can actually experience this for yourself by clicking the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now to start your free 30-day trial and use the code PAL for free shipping. So let's take a look at the rainfall for the next 48 hours. So like I mentioned, this is where the cold front will lie. So those areas further north, just enjoy the calm, right? So that's a lot of clearer skies, cloudier conditions, but there's no rain underneath those clouds. All the instability is further south back into Texas, through southeastern portions of Oklahoma, through Arkansas, back through Louisiana, into Mississippi, into Alabama, back through Georgia, heading into the Carolinas, up into areas into North Carolina. This is where the precipitation will be over the next 48 hours between now and say into Monday morning. So yeah, some of these areas could pick up easily 1 to 3, and some isolated flash flooding is definitely not out of the question. So, but look at where the cold front is by Monday. It encompasses a good part of the US. So most of you are going to be experiencing this last gasp of cooler air for spring standards, and that cold front drops all the way down to the deep south. It's actually fairly impressive with those widespread 40s showing up a good part of the country. But look where the actual really intense cold is. We have yet another pretty significant trough that will be diving in and out of Canada. Some of those areas, like even in Toronto this morning, is actually getting some snow up there. And it's cold, folks. I mean, you're actually into the teens in some of these areas across Quebec and back into Ontario. And that will be what's to come for the Great Lakes and areas into the Northeast as we head into that Monday afternoon into Tuesday, because we do have another fairly decent, significant trough that will be moving in. It's a reinforcing shot of colder air. You can see where the warm up is. That's areas out west. The ridge will be starting to build. You got the south wind starting to return. So by the time you head into Monday, after you get through Monday morning, it's going to be a slow warm up all week long with the ridge starting to build out west, but all the instability turns further north with this trough that will be coming in across the Great Lakes, through the Ohio Valley, and eventually head into the Mid-Atlantic as we get deeper into Tuesday. So here's the setup on Tuesday morning. You've got the rain shield coming across. These could be some higher wind gust, likely nothing severe with these, but some, light to moderate rains at times across northern portions of Wisconsin, back through Michigan here, getting into those areas into northern Illinois, back through southern portions of Iowa. You'll take all the rain they get in Iowa because you are under that fairly significant drought, and that will continue to dive, northwest to southeast as we head into Tuesday. So going deeper into Tuesday, heading into Wednesday morning, this will likely be where the setup would likely be, going into portions of Ohio, back through Kentucky here, into West Virginia, through Pennsylvania, into upstate New York, back through Vermont and New Hampshire, through areas into Long Island, back into Connecticut and Massachusetts, and heading up into Maine. And of course, the snow stays well further north, back up into Canada. But overall, the precipitation likely from Monday morning to Wednesday morning. Notice those areas across the south, that you'll start to dry out. Now all the instability is further north with that trough coming in from northwest to southeast. So for those 48 hours, this is where the rain amounts would likely unfold across the upper Great Lakes, through the Ohio Valley, into the mid-Atlantic, as well as in the Northeast. Nothing terribly too strong, but yeah, you could be picking up anywhere from a trace to possibly 1 inch of rainfall, and some isolated areas up to about 1.5 inches. Is definitely not ruled out between now and Wednesday. But by the time we head into Thursday, we are going to be looking at another fairly significant warm up, especially across the middle of the country. The trough hangs on out east, so you stay under that cooler anomalies. But the middle of the part of the country, you've got the south wind, right, with the ridge building in, and the kind of the dry line setup starts to come back into play with those 15 to almost 20 degrees above average heading into the heat of the afternoon, going into Thursday. And all eyes will trend out west now again. So this is Thursday, so you take a little bit of a respite on the severe weather threat. But I do feel it's only the beginning of what could be yet again a multiple days of severe storms, because we almost have like kind of a deja vu type setup, what we saw last week with another trough coming in. You have the initial short wave that will be coming in across the Four Corners regions through New Mexico. That will provide that additional lift, and the winds will be intense. Moisture return is not that prevalent. It's not that strong. But we do have some instability that will be coming back into play. It's more likely kind of a dry line setup for West Texas, as they'll be tapping into that instability. You'll likely have definitely some heavier winds pull back in the picture across those drought-stricken areas of New Mexico, back into West Texas, into western Oklahoma. And then you've got the low pressure center starting to form again up there into Nebraska. But here's where the updated drought monitor index. So yeah, those areas across the southeast and much of the East Coast, you've been inundated with rain. You don't really need any more rain. So where they need help is really actually across the middle of the country. So there's the area into Iowa that is under that significant drought. They've been kind of eating away at this. And yes, they did have those storms last week with those tornadoes. And unfortunately, they might get more of this by the end of the week with another significant system heading their way. They will provide some additional rainfall, but obviously they don't need the severe weather that comes with it. Look at the drought further south, back into West Texas, back into New Mexico. That's pretty prevalent, because as southwest winds come in, that almost creates that capping inversion that they often deal with down there that kind of limits the for areas of thunderstorms to penetrate that boundary layer. And I think what's going to happen again. So this is a kind of a classic, dry line type setup. Look at the dew points as we head into, this is Thursday afternoon. We've got 60s coming back for the south. Those spread into Oklahoma, back into Kansas. We've got much drier air back into West Texas, where this dry line type setup unfolds. And the Storm Prediction Center has that risk, kind of a deja vu, where they had it last week. Far northwest portions, Wichita Falls, Childress, back into western Oklahoma and western Kansas. That event produced some larger hail along the dry line. But once it got further north, then they got caught in that EML, that drier air aloft. So it spreads in those high clouds and protects that lid up above the atmosphere. So I would say you're going to have a kind of a similar setup. It's going to be a conditional risk again for these areas on Thursday with the supercell thunderstorms igniting. They're going to be fighting that capping inversion every step of the way if supercells are going to pop or not. But nonetheless, right now, the Storm Prediction Center went ahead and highlighted that slight risk for that probability, because yes, the parameters are going to be probably high again as these move through that area. But once it swings further east, you'll have a lot more instability. You'll be a little bit further away from that email. Then you'll have a greater probability of penetrating that boundary layer and producing tower supercell thunderstorms with all three modes of activity. So Friday could be a significant day on the severe weather front, especially across the plains and back into those areas into Iowa again through Illinois, with that low pressure center setting up again across Nebraska, would likely shift up into southeastern South Dakota by the time we head into Friday night. So even right now, you have a day 7 risk, folks. This is a long way out, but all parameters are there. Ensemble guidances are there, hinting at that instability would be highlighted over Oklahoma, back into Wichita, through Springfield, back into Kansas City, into southeastern portions of Nebraska, and yes, Iowa again, especially the Des Moines area, especially those areas into southeastern Iowa, and heading into Illinois. So we'll be fine-tuning this as we get closer, but this would likely be another possible significant severe weather threat. And I think it even amplifies even higher as we head into Saturday. We have another deepening trough, and this one digs all the way down into Baja California, folks. That could be significant, and that could yet its own severe weather form into Saturday, into Sunday, as we head into next weekend. So even right now, the confidence is high, as very high winds will hit this area across West Texas into New Mexico here. This would likely be red flag warnings in place, wind gusts screaming probably 60, 70 miles an hour, fire danger in place, and winds will be cranking out ahead of this system. And as it moves across the country, pretty high confidence this is likely going to be a fairly slower mover system. So this could be yet again a longer duration event of supercell thunderstorms that move across the Central Plains and heading into the Ohio Valley there, with heavier rainfall draped across portions of Texas and Oklahoma, through Arkansas into areas of into Missouri. But then that would spread additional heavier rainfall back into Nebraska again, into Iowa, would swing over to Illinois, as well as into Indiana as we head into next weekend. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely head over to MyHeritage to get the DNA kit. Use my coupon code PAL to get free shipping, as well as you have the additional bonus of trying out the 30-day free trial. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update while I protect you before and after storm.